back on the Boulevard Thursday, May 22nd. As always, here to prove to you there is no such thing as football season. We're presented by the Believe Network tonight. Welcome to Week 9, where unfortunately we already know the who, what, where, and when of the 2025 UFL playoffs. But I'm still here left asking why. Why, Audi Field? Why won't you just move this soccer game scheduled for June 8th so that us UFL enthusiasts have something to root for these next 2 weeks? Do they not understand, TPG? $18 beers times how many to build a beer snake? That's dollars and cents in your pocket right there.
Are you crazy? $18 for a beer? This is a highway robbery. I'm going to Memphis to get the $2 beers. It's back this weekend, baby.
I mean, DC's doing more in beer sales alone than the Spirit are doing stadium-wide concessions.
Yeah. I mean, it's great for the venue, but you might get more people in there if you maybe sell like, hey, I don't know, $10 beers.
Either way, everybody's saying this is a quiet week. Well, that could be the case, but as usual, we're here to sell it to you as an entertaining week, an important week. Things will matter. Not as important as the other ones, but we do have some pretty big news in different areas this week. The biggest one, another week without Bryce Perkins for Michigan. Is the ankle injury that he suffered 2 weeks ago against Arlington worse than we thought? Or is this simply precautionary for Michigan heading into the playoffs? And also we'll get into how this might impact Bryce's MVP chances. What was once a runaway with this award, the door is now opened for my favorite quarterback, Jordan Ta'amu, to maybe steal that thing away. We'll get into that. Take a quick look at our standings here, and really the only people left to care about these are bettors who took the over-under win totals in the preseason. I know Battlehawks were under 6.5, over under 6.5. I took the under on that, and that bet is actually still alive, TPG. Horns forward this week. If the Battlehawks can finish 6-4, I get the cash.
Are you tipping your hand already?
I don't know.
Maybe.
You'll have to stay tuned.
Sounds like it. It sounds like it.
It was over under 6.5. The Brahmas were actually over under 5.5. Lost that one. I took the over.
Horns down.
I don't remember what some of the others were, but a lot of them were in the 5, 6.5. I think Birmingham was a little higher. I think they were like 7.5. But yeah, unless you had an over-under win bet, future, that the standings really don't matter because, again, we know the playoffs and we know where they're going to be at this point. Speaking of those St. Louis Battlehawks, we were able to get everyone's favorite St. Louis Battlehawk on the show this week. Enjoy. Joined now by UFL Defensive Player of the Week, St. Louis Battlehawks edge rusher Travis Feeney. Travis, thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me, boys. Appreciate it.
So we got to get this right out of the way off the top because our viewers know I'm a diehard Defenders fan, and we know you bleed that Battlehawk blue more than anyone we've probably ever had on. And I've seen what you do to quarterbacks. Frankly, I don't want that smoke, so I hope we could at least be friends just for this week.
For this week.
So what's your reaction to winning the UFL Defensive Player of the Week?
I mean, man, honestly, when it first happened, my reaction was just like, man, I haven't won Player of the Week since the Pac-12. R.I.P. I still put the claim to fame. I was the first multi-player of the week person in the Pac-12. That's my history. But nah, man, I took it as it was a big accomplishment. I'm grateful for the guys around me that I was able to get it, and I mean those guys helped me to get that goal. It feels good to finally get a little bit moment of shine. I feel a little like I'm always a little unsung hero, and I take that role and I love it. But it feels good to get the acknowledgement on it.
Yeah, congratulations on that. Forever go down in history with the Pac-12 now too, right? That's something that nobody else can get anymore. So,
right?
Yeah. So into the UFL now. I don't want to overlook the rest of this regular season, but man, it's like June 8th. Seems like it can't get here soon enough. For the first time, this rivalry will get a playoff stage. which in my opinion sets up the most highly anticipated spring football game probably ever. Would you agree with that? And then as a player, what does make that rivalry so heated and anticipated?
Yeah, man, I totally agree. I mean, you know, the rivalry's real. They don't like us, we don't like them, you know. But I think it's like that with every other team. I don't like San Antonio this week. I don't like anybody. I don't like nobody. But I think it's definitely great. You got two teams playing at a high level. And it's just gonna make for a great game, and it's a rivalry game. On top of that, you know, there's a lot of bad blood on both sides, as you know. But yeah, man, it's gonna be fun when we get there. You know, I'll focus more on that when that time comes, when the game week comes. But obviously, it's a thing that's still in the back of your mind. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, and we know the league announced that the playoff game will be in the Dome because Audi Field's not available. So win or lose week 10, you'll be at home. In your mind, personally, was that the right move? Or do you think the league should have maybe incentivized week 10 where you guys win, you clinch home field, maybe if you lose, play in Arlington or at a neutral site?
I mean, for me, the league does so much stuff. Like it's just a matter of what makes sense for business. Period. It's how they're always going to do it. Doesn't matter. This isn't the NFL. This isn't. They're going to do what makes money sense. And one, the season ain't over, so I can hear all the crying and all the boo-hoo and all the hell they want, but the season ain't done. But there's a lot of assumptions, and I like that. It's noted. You know, and that's all I'll say on that. It's noted. The season ain't done, but seems like somebody's assuming that they're automatically going to get the home field. So, but you know, on top of that, you know, but I do think that they're as things go, they'll have to definitely for sure fix something that way. It makes it hard with the venues wise, you know, as the spring ball venues. Maybe if we had started the spring season earlier, wouldn't have that problem. But hey, that's above my pay grade, right?
Yeah, me too.
I'm playing ball. That's above. Those are for the other guys to answer.
Yeah, and it's probably my fault what you're referencing. In Jordan Tamu's defense, I asked him that about, and when I asked him the question, I asked him about the hypothetical scenario if they would earn the 1 seed. So when it got clipped, it's kind of like him talking. Yeah, yeah. So that's my fault. I'll take that one for putting him in the situation to answer the question. But yeah, I mean, you have different opinions on both sides, and that's how it's always going to be. Like you said, it's not like you guys get to vote on this stuff, unfortunately. The league just kind of owns all the teams, right? There's no separate owners. So this is what we deal with. But yeah, man, it's a good, it's good to get both perspectives of it. My co-host, who's a big time Battlehawks fan, TPG, had some questions for you. TPG, go right ahead, man.
What's going on, Travis? Appreciate you joining
What's up,
us today.
dog?
So, funny little backstory. So on Monday, Matt texted me and he's like, "Hey, what Battlehawk do you want on the show?" Immediately sent back Travis Feeney. He had a great game. He balled out. I think he could be player of the week. So sure enough, came out already earlier today. So I want to congratulate you on just a great performance on Saturday.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So you were really feeling yourself on Saturday, still stone cold in beers after the game, shouting out mom and dad on the broadcast. And you also had a couple other colorful words. Yeah, geez. That's a tongue twister. Colorful words on the broadcast that Fox had to bleep out. And, side note, ESPN would probably just, ESPN would probably let that slide though, because they're cool. But just talk me through like the attitude and the swagger this defense has been playing with over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, man. I think our whole goal has been with Coach Ice and everything is that our defense has to be better than the other team's defense. No matter what, at the end of the day, if we play better than other teams' defense and we do better on special teams, that's two parts of the test, right? We know that most of our defensive players are going to be on special teams, so that's also defense for us. So as defense, we got control of two parts of the game. So as long as we execute those two parts of the game, hey, then it's in our offense to put it away, right? So we put it on our back. We made an agenda. Yeah, we made sure to not be complacent, and it's been going good.
Yeah, well, it's been a lot of fun watching this defense ball out each week. I feel like every week you guys come up with a big play to, completely swing the game and really help your team out. So it's been great stuff to see. So doing a little deep dive on you before the interview, and I got a question. Did you start out in college as a safety?
Yeah, man. I played every position on the field but cornerback. Every position but cornerback and nose. I played three tech. I played the four. I played the five. I played the six. Played Sam. Played Will. Played Mike. Strong and free safety. And the only position I haven't played is corner.
So I'm guessing, yeah, that really helps you out, transitioning throughout your career to linebacker and rushing off the edge. It really helps, I bet, having all that versatility on the defensive side of the ball.
It helps, man, but it always sucks. Like you're always called a hybrid. I always tell kids, I'm sorry to say, being a hybrid is a gift and a curse at the same time because you never get to master one position. You're always changing. So you want to be, it's always good to have many skills, but if you're never mastering one, what does it matter?
Exactly. But hey, at the end of the day, I view you as a football player, and I always think it's a good thing to be, a jack of all trades.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it for sure.
So, in college, right? You played with a lot of guys that had great NFL careers like Buda Baker, Vita Vea, Shaq Thompson, Jaden Mickens, John Ross, Marcus Peters, and your coach, obviously, Chris Peterson, cut his teeth, coaching a couple undefeated seasons with Boise State. So tell me about your time at Washington and how did that prepare you for the next level in pro ball?
Yeah, man, it was good. I had three different defensive. Well, for me, I had a different coach every year. DBs coach or linebackers, DCs, different DCs. With that, man, I was able to get coaching from all different views, all different parts of the field, all different types of coaching. Some coaches were more crazy, some coaches were more technical, some were just go play, who cares, disrupt things. Um, with that, I was able to just like really help me like learn how to deal with the environment. And that's the biggest thing is learn how to deal with the environment and then learn how to adapt to it. And then with that, learning how to take little segments from what people say, whether you're getting cursed out or not, but learning what to take. Okay, he's cursing me out, but is it like for a reason? What is he actually saying to me? Yeah, he's mad, but what is he telling me that I need to get from this and not get mad at myself or get saying bleep him, forget him. So I think that was a big thing. And big thing was just having guys like Marcus, Shaq, and Danny and Vita. And Vito's the young boy when I was there. But having those guys around, I was able to take stuff off their heads and take how they read the game, how they played the game, how they prepped. And you had guys at such a high level of ability and skill. It just made you play better. So that was a big thing at UW for me. And then I had two different head coaches. I had Peterson, who was more life after ball. What are we gonna do career wise? And we're not gonna be cursing. We're not gonna be fighting at practice. Where I had Sark, he was F everybody, and we're just here for ball. Don't care about school. School's second. We're here for ball, and that's it. That's all we're gonna do. It was just play. And I had the different Sark time. I'm glad he's doing a lot better now, and they're doing good things in Texas. But yeah.
Yeah, he's really rejuvenated his career at Texas. And you speak about like the coaching turnover you went through. I'm sure that's really helped transitioning to professional football because it's a high turnover. You see a lot of turnover year after year. So I bet,
All the
taking those
time,
skills
man.
that you learned at such an early young age definitely has benefited you throughout your career. So this is your third season on the Battlehawks. So how has your leadership role kind of progressed on this team over the last couple of years?
Man, dude, I more so try to lead by example. I don't talk unless I feel like it's necessarily needed. Um, I feel like that's something that I took from a couple pros in my rooms, Cam Jordan and stuff. That you don't got to always talk. Arthur Moses, another guy, Pittsburgh Steelers, when I was there. But you don't have to always talk. Sometimes you have to, but we're all grown men. If I got to keep pumping you up to get motivated and play this game and to keep wanting to achieve your dream, you're already done. if you need me to get you ready to go, then hey, there's no matter what I say to you and all that, it's just gonna be on death's door, death's ears. And if even if I say it's only gonna last for a second, you still gotta find there still has to be something in you that's making you tap into it, right? That's why I'm still able to do it now today. To this day, I'm still able to play. I'm still able to find that little, what's that little fire? I don't know if you are anime fans, but it's All Might, man. That was his last little fire as he does his last move before he loses his power. And he finds it deep within himself and just like uses it and beats the enemy. Something like that.
We
You
saw
gotta
that
find what you
Naruto
miss.
move in the celebration. I caught that. That was a good one. Yeah.
And then they missed my DBZ ones, man. Well, actually, they got the Kamehameha against y'all, but they didn't get the Spirit Bomb this last game.
I'll do it again.
Yeah, it was dope. It was clean. I did it, but I'm like, I don't think anybody understands it.
Well, Travis, I got one more question for you before we get out of here. So you've basically played in every professional league, NFL, AF, CFL, USFL, XFL, now the UFL. Like, do you have any favorite moments playing pro football?
Oh, man. They're not even, I would say one moment's not even a football moment. It was probably the first when I initially went to the Saints and I got grabbed from practice squad. I got taken active to the Saints. And you're on a new team. You know people based on TV, but you don't know them. And, I had a teammate there at Washington with the Saints, Sunil Clemente, and he let me move in with them and live with them. It was a great time. Him and his wife, amazing people. That's my dog. But I think one of the best moments was it was me and Drew Brees in the locker room. And from my locker room from Pittsburgh, Big Ben never talked to me. It'd be me and Big Ben in the locker room before, and he never said nothing to me. Didn't acknowledge me, nothing. So Drew comes to me, say, "Hi, I'm Drew Brees." And I was like, dude, like, no crap, like you're freaking Drew Brees. He's like, "Hey man, like, what's your story?" Like, he told me his story, where he's from. He wanted to know about my family, how I got here, what I played ball, who I'm playing, why I'm playing the ball for. Like, literally sat and talked to me for maybe like 45 minutes, man. And I thought that was one of the coolest moments for me. And I think another one was just wasn't being drafted, man. Draft day sucked. But I think it was just the combine. I think the process of the combine and having fun and just knowing that everything that I put to grind for years since I was a kid, it was actually like coming to fruition. And I think that was the dopest thing of reality of like, okay, playing college ball and all that was reality I'm playing. But when I got to the combine, I was like, this is like really like real. Like this can happen. I think that was just like my two big moments for me as a professional.
Travis, we really appreciate your time. Best of luck this Friday against San Antonio, and we're going to be rooting you on the whole time, and best of luck in the playoffs as well.
All right, Matt, man, can we get a cacao?
I'll propose a bet to you. If DC wins the game, you got to buy me an XFL Conference Champion shirt. If St. Louis wins, I will buy your jersey and any merch that you have, and I'll wear it on our show the day after you guys would win. That's my bet to you right here, if you'll take it.
You wear the cacao merch?
Anything you have, I will wear it on the show the day after.
I will get you a Feeney shirt. I'll
buy it. Yeah. I got you. And if DC wins it, you got to buy me an XFL Conference Champs nice little red shirt here going on.
Let's do it.
All right, that's a shake. Awesome. That's Travis Feeney, UFL Defensive Player of the Week. Travis, appreciate you taking the time out of your day to join us. Good luck this week at San Antonio.
All right, boys. Later.
Well, we got a bet. It's official, TPG. That might be the first time in Boulevard history that I was able to make a bet with a player.
Yeah, I'm happy you accepted it. But before we move on to this preview, I just got to say, colorful. I had to get that off my chest. That was bad. That was really bad. I got mixed up big time in front of Mr. Feeney. So apologize, Travis, but really appreciated having him on. That was a great interview. Great personality too. So what What a great dude to talk to.
Yeah, say that one 5 times fast. That's a tongue twister right there.
It is.
TPG, you meet your stars, you get nervous. I understand. I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I'm the same way.
Talk to the Battlehawks, yeah.
He's definitely a larger-than-life character, though. Great catching up with Travis, and he's going to be looking to continue his success Friday night in the Battle Dome. San Antonio at St. Louis. Battlehawks, 6.5-point home favorites here. Totals at 41.5. First meeting we know was a 26-9 Battlehawk drubbing back in week 2 in the Dome. Again, this was supposed to be a home game for the Brahmas, but we got high school graduation in the Alamo City instead, which, to be quite honest, is probably more inspiring than watching the San Antonio Brahmas at this point. So enjoy that if you're in, if you got somebody graduating down in the Alamo Dome.
Is that true?
Yeah, no, it is. True? I looked it up on the website, which I've started to do, by the way, because I'm sick of hearing all these rumors. Like I said last show, again, off topic, but I said last show that Choctaw Stadium was rumored to have a concert. No, it turns out that was just some idiot talking on Twitter. I looked up the website. The concert's at Globe Life Park where the Rangers play, not Choctaw Stadium. That's wide open. The fact that people don't look at this stuff before they tweet, I always try to preface it with rumor alert, right? It's the rumor mill. We can't confirm anything, but we do know from looking up on the Alamo Dome website, it's high school graduation pretty much all week. Damn high school. There you go. Southside High School. Enjoy your graduation. Don't know why I remember that, but yeah, into the game now. Really, before we do any of our game previews this week, I want to preface it by saying we don't really know who's going to play this week. Like, there is nothing left on the line, so we assume the ones will start and the twos will rotate in. Maybe you'll see more reps out of twos than you normally do. But, man, this is going to be a tough week to project, to bet, whatever you're doing, like in all areas. So my hope is, TPG, that we can learn a lot this week about maybe how each coach will approach week 10. And then we'll be able to see the trends and how they view it, and then we'll be able to crush week 10. But I don't know. This week is going to be a mystery with how some of these situations are going to be approached. Of course, we're going to do our best. One thing that was confirmed, Kellen Mond back in the saddle for San Antonio after several quarterbacks were contacted and unavailable to come in for Kevin Hogan, who broke his hand.
Breaking news.
We'll leave it at that. Not much to say about Kellen Mond. He's extremely underwhelming this season. He's 57% completion percentage, less than 120 pass yards per start. I know O-line play was really bad at the beginning of the season there, so I guess they've been improved. Maybe it's a second chance for Kellen Mond. I mean, does he have a big game like Kevin Hogan did when he came in? Is he able to get that 300-yard passing game that we kind of expected from him when he came in? I don't know. Battlehawks, they do have some problems in man coverage, it seems, all season, and now they just lost another guy, Chris Payton-Jones, out for the year with an injury. So it's starting to become kind of a real concern for Donnie Abraham with the secondary, even to the point where I think he had them sign his son. So, I mean, getting a little desperate. But
we're playing daddy's ball in the UFL. I love it.
He's all right. I mean, he has a decent resume. Micah Abraham coming in to play corner. But, yeah, that's not looking good when you got the number one pass offense in the league coming in for playoffs in a couple weeks. They got to figure something out in that back end. As far as San Antonio, we're going to see if Jayshon Corbin can continue this explosive run he's had. 252 yards last 2 games. He's averaging 7.4 a pop. I mean, he got 30 touches against Memphis. They only ran 63 plays. That is an insane workload. I mean, we haven't seen that since probably, I can't even tell you. I mean, I can't even think of another running back who's getting 30 touches in 60 plays. So, I like him to get going again this week. But it really all comes down to, can Kellen Mond take care of the ball? We saw Kevin Hogan toss 3 picks last week, pretty much lost him the game. We know the Battlehawks have 9 picks on the year, and that leads the league, TPG.
Yeah, so you're big on you don't know who's going to start because, we got everything's locked up, like you don't really know. But I'm trying to think back to last year. There was nothing like that I could remember where it's like, hey, you had multiple starters sitting out. I feel like for the most part, guys want to play. Coaches want these guys to get the reps because, I mean, at the end of the day, the goal is to get back to the NFL. So, I don't know, kind of wait and see as to how these coaches approach. But I think for the most part, you're going to see the day one starters. Those guys are going to be in. So on Sunday last week, I said, according to this game, right? Like, no team as bad as you think they are, but I'm going to walk that take back just because you have the best rushing offense now going up against the best or the worst rushing defense. And if Memphis is able to run all over you, then what do you think the Battlehawks are going to do? Realistically, like, Memphis has struggled to run the ball all year. And the Battlehawks, you know, hit their stride last week against Birmingham, a pretty good rush defense. So I think it's looking up for them the rest of the season. This could be a 4-quarter massacre, just like it was back in week 2. That's what I'm predicting. And even though the majority, or even though the playoffs have been clinched for the Battlehawks, I do see Max taking the majority of the reps this week. Like I said last week, he definitely needs the reps, and I can definitely see this being a get-right spot for him, finding receivers like Jacob Pearson, Hakeem Butler, maybe get Frank Darby into the mix. So, yeah, super confident about him. Battlehawks have been an absolute lock in the Battle Dome this year, 4-1 straight up. So I like the Hawks to get her done on Friday night, and I'm also confident enough to lay the points. I know this total was at 8.5. Now it's down. Last time I checked was 6. Whatever the spread is, I'm confident that they can get it done.
I think the Battlehawks should have to, like, the UFL should mandate that they should go to their PA announcer and their game presentation people. And they should have to take off, like, no entrance, like, no crazy in-game presentation stuff for in the stadium. Because, like, if the Brahmas are the home team, right, it should feel like that, even though it's not going to. There'd be something that would be, like, obvious, right? Is like, don't.
Well, like, rip down the sideline banners.
No.
You
don't have to do that.
But
what you do should, I mean, you get rid of the entrance at least, and, you know, some of the hype stuff that the PA announcer does. I mean, make it seem a little more realistic here.
I mean, hey, doesn't have to be fair.
They could model that now so that it's perfect once DC comes in, and then DC could get the home game treatment. They could even maybe not paint the end zones like they do at Audi Field. That might be a good look. But no, as far as this one, classic letdown spot for St. Louis. I mean, you're talking about a gutsy 1-point home win last week over defending champs to clinch the playoffs. You're not going to wake up for this one. It's a Friday night. It's going to be hard to replicate that effort. Sure, they'll win, but I doubt they cover. I wouldn't be touching them to cover here. I think you make a good point about the run game. Sailors, I think he won't get much run here. I think he'll be used sparingly. I could see Howard getting a lot of work, and then they actually activated Latulas as RB3, which is a telling sign that I think Sailors is going to be on the bench resting.
Short leash.
Yeah, so, I mean, why would you want to get the best running back in the league hurt? You know, that's not something you're looking to do. So I know he's not going to rest Duggan. You're probably right. Although it might be smart to throw Silvers or Chevin Cordero, who's finally back, get them some reps. I mean, Max has got to be banged up at this point. I know he's not showing up on injury reports, but he's just taking a ton of hits, 51 carries in 5 games. I know you look at his TCU numbers, and he actually did run for like 10 carries a game there too. So I think he's just built different. Like, as a quarterback, he's like a Trace McSorley, right, out there just bouncing off guys. So we want to talk in these games about some maybe new faces to watch just in case coaches do go to the bench. I think Jerome Cap is a guy that you mentioned for St. Louis. Why not put him in for Butler, right? You know, Butler's had his injuries this year. Don't need to see another one of those. Maybe let Cap get some route share there. And Jaden Sheridan on the other side for San Antonio is a guy who played a lot for Michigan that I think will get some carries here. So I want to keep some eyes on some new faces. Yeah, that's a wrap on St. Louis and San Antonio. I'm going to go Battlehawks, but closer than the experts think.
Before we move on, can we get a caw for Travis Feeney? Please. Yep. Get those vocals ready. Give us the loudest caw we've ever heard.
Shields up.
Damn.
Let's run through Arlington and Memphis quick. Not much to talk about here. Both sides eliminated. You know, just playing for pride, maybe some extra film, like you said. Arlington, the 4.5-point road favorites here. Total is 40.5. Could be some rain. 11 a.m. local kick in Memphis. Hot dogs and beers are $2 rest of the year for the last 2 boats games, maybe ever. Don't think they'll relocate, but you never know. Crazier things have happened. Are these the last 2 Boats games in the Liberty Bowl ever? Case to be made that maybe, but we'll get into that in the offseason. Not 100.
Let's pack it then.
Yeah, not 100% sure really who's going to play quarterback on either side here. From a betting perspective, obviously, I'm more interested in the status of Perez. When Bob Stoops was asked about his quarterback room in his presser this week, he said maybe Ehlers and Lennon would get some reps, but it was a one-word answer. Didn't really give us much. So I want to believe that Stoops likes Perez enough to not let that game-losing interception be the last pass he makes this season. I can't imagine he leaves him on the bench here. So I'm guessing he starts the game. Maybe see a little more Ehlers mixed in second half. Definitely some value on the Renegades, -4.5 here if Perez goes full game. For sure. Like, if this is a normal week, I'm all over this number. I mean, you remember what they did to Memphis last year, a 47-point explosion. I know it's a different defense now under Jaron Horton, but, man, that Arlington pass game is really clicking right now. I don't know how the Boats are going to slow that down, so I'm gonna lay the 4.5. I'm gonna be a little cautious with the amount that I'm betting because I don't know how Stoops is viewing Perez. If, like I said, this was a normal week, this number should be more like 8.5.
Yeah, you mentioned last year's game against these two teams, and before I get into my preview, I think this is a similar situation as to last year, just because they were. By the time these two teams played, Arlington was out of it. I believe they were 0-6 at the time, and they still went with Perez the whole time. So I do think he's going to go the whole time, and I love Arlington too. So let's get in the preview. Last week, I thought it was the ultimate get-right spot for Arlington, and obviously I ate shit on that take. But maybe that since this team is out of playoff contention, they can play loose and not have their assholes puckered so tight. So as for the run defense, though, I am a bit concerned because DC ran all over them last week, and they haven't been a good rushing team at all this year. So maybe that defense just wasn't ready to see DC establish the run like that. But I'm willing to throw that film out the window and on to this week. So Troy Williams, right? When he was at the helm with this team, he was super one-dimensional. So hopefully that would also help this Arlington defense to, be able to key on that run. They didn't throw a lot, Memphis, but they really didn't have to. So I do think Arlington definitely has the advantage in this one. It's going to be a long day for the Boats, and it's hard for me to back the Boats too, because I think last week was the first time where I've bet them to win, and they actually did. Or the second time, actually, that I bet them to win, and they actually did, dating all the way back to last season. So a lot, and plus, with this team this year, a lot of things had to go right for them to win both the games. You're looking at 2 overtime games where the ball bounced their way. So I'm going to look to fade that this week. Give me the Renegades to win and also cover.
Yeah, it's weird this year because in a normal UFL year, you'd have your teams that are like really solid against the spread, and then the teams you could fade. Has not been that way this year. I'll track it every week how a team stacks up against the spread. Everybody's 4-4, except San Antonio's I think 3-5 against the spread. All the other 7 teams are 4-4 against the spread. So it's hard to bet sides and spreads when you don't have that information. Who's always covering? Even St. Louis there for a while was. I think they might be the only team that was above 500 for a while, and now obviously they don't cover against Birmingham. So. Yeah, it's interesting. You talk about Troy Williams. Honestly, I know depth charts will be out by the time people are watching this. We don't have them at time of show, but I doubt Troy Williams starts. I think they go to Perry. Yeah,
really?
I know Jim Turner made a comment about how he's going to shake things up in the quarterback room. What I assumed is he laid out a 3-week plan for 8, 9, and 10 where Williams, Perry, and Dresser Wynn would all each get a start. That's just what it sounded like to me. He also said he kind of threw Wisenhunt under the bus, and he said, I don't like how this quarterback situation was managed. It was unfair to those guys when we started the season. Presumably talking about the rotating in and out per drive. I think he wanted to give him a full game per guy. And he did that with Williams. Even though Williams only had, 30 passing yards? He left him in there, and he was able to get the conversion in overtime to win it. So I think they actually go Perry here. I could just see, them each getting a start to end the year. But it doesn't really matter. We know all these guys are pretty equal. It doesn't really change my bet. I'm going to go the Bandits here as well. I think they should be able to throw on Memphis with ease. I don't see the Boats moving the ball. You'd look at the under maybe with some rain, but it's tough. It's tough to take unders right now, man, in this league. Like 15-2 on the last 17 overs. Like we should just be betting overs. We'd be millionaires. I guess you could rely on, hey, this is a slow, sloppy, shitty week in the UFL. Maybe less motivation. But I'll just take the Renegades, right? It's just easier. Maybe they have a sour taste in their mouth after how last week went. A little bit of motivation to bounce back. Couple new faces I do want to point out to watch here before we move on. Tony Jones Jr. got going a little bit in the second half last week. I think we'll see more of him rotating in with Hunter as they try to get this run game going. It's been awful. Maybe he can provide a spark. And then Jalen Jackson for Memphis is a guy I want to see more of out of Villanova. He's been quiet all year, but then kind of blew up onto the scene. Really good last week against San Antonio. 7 carries, 76 yards, and a score. So I think you see a little more of Jackson this week too.
I feel like they didn't give him the ball enough.
Oh, yeah. Well, they just didn't run that many plays. Like, they just never had the ball that whole game. I think they had a league. I was looking at the record book today. They had the UFL record for least passing yards in a game ever. And they still won that game, which is bizarre. Like, how does a team win a game? Like, that's so Brahmas. To lose a game to a team that had the least passing yards in league history. I don't know how you do that, but yeah, that's.
So I also saw that record book too getting floated around on the Reddits. Do they was that updated?
There's
from what it looked like it was like all.
It's not the record book. I misspoke. It's like the team. It's if you
okay.
go under stats on the UFL.com, they
Gotcha.
do update that one every week, and it's like.
Gotcha.
So I guess it's not a UFL record. It's a season low, but I'm sure nobody had
Gotcha.
less than 14 passing yards last year. Maybe Houston. But
No, I don't think
that's
so.
ridiculous. Like,
Do you know what I'm talking about?
yeah,
though?
the actual record book, which I've heard is wrong, by the way. So don't. I actually had a tweet.
That's so UFL.
I put a tweet out earlier this year that got corrected by somebody because I thought Jordan had the most all-purpose yards in a game when he went off against San Antonio, but I was quickly corrected and told that the record book is not a good reference material to be using because the way that they have information sorted is not organized right. So you got to look in a couple different places.
Shocker.
But yeah, that's what we get. That's what we get with the UFL.com. So yeah, it's Memphis Arlington. Don't want to do too much on that. Next up, what should be the game of the week. I guess it technically is, but a really tough sell here because you've got the one that actually matters. Same time, same place, 2 weeks from now with Michigan at Birmingham. This is a pick 'em on the books. Total 44.5, forecast 79 and cloudy in Birmingham. Just got to talk Bryce Perkins right off the top here. Shocked me for the first time ever. Mike Nolan actually transparent about an injury. He went on Mac and Cube this morning, and he said Perkins is ruled out. So the question becomes, if Bryce turned his ankle 2 weeks ago in that game against Arlington at some point, but then was able to finish it anyway, how bad actually is it? And if this Birmingham game mattered for home field, like, would he be getting the go? I mean, Nolan kind of makes a solid point where, for what it's worth, sometimes we forget that there's no coin toss in the UFL. So, like, the home team does get the pick, kick, or receive. Like, classic Mike Nolan there, like, reminding us all, like, hey, I'm a conservative coach, so that matters. That kind of thing, like us being able to defer and take the ball in the second half matters. So maybe there is something to play for if he's, like, selling that to his guys. So I don't know. I want to say that they're just leaving him out because it's precautionary, but, like, we saw what happened with Corral. Like, we thought he was coming back, and look where Birmingham's at now. So, but, Michigan, they want to avoid a repeat of last year, where Perkins went out week 10. Danny Etling had to come in and single-handedly lost them that USFL conference championship game. I think he had 3 turnovers in the third quarter. And as far as the MVP race goes now, doors wide open for JT. Jordan has the better numbers, and I know Bryce passes the eye test, but if he's going to be out missing all these games, Jordan can gain some ground here. These awards are big on recency bias, right? Like it's like, what have you done for me lately type of award. So I guess it depends. How much is the league going to hold it against them, against Perkins, for missing these 2 games? What do you think right now? I think the books right now on ESPN Bet, you can get Perkins at plus 110 and Tamu at plus 125. So kind of like neck and neck for MVP.
Tamu, no doubt. No doubter. I mean, he's the one playing. He's out there every week. Yeah. So it's got to be Jordan. So you mentioned this. Bryce Perkins did not practice yesterday after logging a full practice on Tuesday, which is obviously not a good sign because that means he most likely re-injured out in practice. And like you said, hey, Cole Kublik broke the news this morning that Perkins is out for this week against the Stallions. But on the flip side, right, I do think this could be a potential get right spot for the Stallions. They did lose their best defensive player last week, Bradley Anae. I believe it was a groin injury, but this team has battled injuries all season, so I don't think that I believe they'll be able to overcome that little hurdle. So everyone forgets, Stallions are 6-0 against Panthers dating back to 22, and I kind of pointed this out when we recapped that week 2 game earlier this year that I thought it was more psychological for the Panthers, whereas they beat themselves, not so much the Stallions beat them. So, and to be honest, I don't really see them being able to overcome that mental hurdle, especially without Perkins. So this is something that we've never seen. This is amazing. But the line flipped, obviously, with the news. But if you got in on this early, you could have got Birmingham Stallions as a dog. I like them regardless, whatever the point spread is. So I do like the Stallions to get this one done, and yeah, I just can't believe they would make the Stallions a dog, even though, only 400 people are going to show up to this game.
Yeah, what's great about the UFL is you can kind of guarantee, like, if you see news right when it comes out, you got about an hour and a half to get something in because it'll take the book some time to adjust.
No, but I got this yesterday. I just saw the plus sign by the Stallions, and I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
I've never seen it. Well, I have seen that before because they were underdogs last week, but underdogs at home?
Yeah, and there was definitely
that's uncharted water.
There's definitely some foreshadowing with them, like I think Michigan signed another quarterback. So, they're trying to get an emergency QB3 in there. Like, that'll tell you how they feel right now about Perkins. But I want to think that he'll be all right and that he'll play in the USFL Conference Championship game. I really hope because – man, I just hate to see a player like that miss the playoffs. But you never know. It could be something more serious than we're thinking. And if he can't put weight on that thing or if he can't cut, and the clock's ticking. Like, they got to do everything they can right now to get Bryce Perkins better for June 8th. I'm pretty confident in Birmingham this week as well. I'm with you. Do I still think Michigan, in the long run gets the best of them? Yeah. But as far as Saturday goes, you said it. Like, this is a Stallions team coming off a tough loss in St. Louis, a game that they absolutely should have won. This is a bounce back spot, and they run circles around Michigan, so they don't need any extra motivation. You talk about Skip, actually, is 5-0. I think Mike Nolan came in 2023, so like we'll give Skip 5-0 against Nolan. I said on our kickoff show all the way back in March that I thought Birmingham would probably win both regular season meetings, and then Michigan would have that storyline of like, hey, we've never beaten these guys. This is our chance to end the dynasty. What a story that would be. Like, if they came into this June 8th with Nolan being 0-6, like, that writes itself. That, like, Michigan's going to knock them off and end this tour for 4 championships in a row. So, I
agree. That'll set it up nicely.
I kind of hope Birmingham does win this week because then you don't lose that luster of like, hey, that could be a great that would be like an ultimate release of joy for Michigan. Not just advancing to the championship, but like, hey, we finally did it. And not only that, like they don't get their 4th in a row. So that's the spot you want to see Michigan finally do it. As far as Jamar, like, yeah, the offense against St. Louis, they were surprising. They shocked me a little bit. Obviously, they didn't get the bounces they needed. Like, some things really didn't go their way with fumbles and picks. But Michigan got, like, every bounce in the book last week. They had a punt return to the 1. They had a weird pick six. Yeah, there's weird stuff going on in that game. So, don't be surprised here if Michigan luck runs out a little bit and the Stallions roll off a 10, 20-point win. Couple players to watch here. I think Larry Roundtree is a guy for the Stallions they should probably go to, because I did notice Person and Marable both on the injury report a little dinged up. So those are two guys you want to keep healthy for June 8th. So get Roundtree some reps. And then for Michigan, I think we're getting Matt Colburn back. That would be huge. I'm pretty sure he'll be ready to go. So he hasn't played since week 2. And he'll come in, rotate with Tawa and McCrary, and make a really good 3-man backfield out of that thing.
Definitely.
Yeah, so that's Birmingham, Michigan. Last but not least, let's do DC at Houston. Defenders 3.5-point favorites here on the road. Totals 45.5. I believe that's our highest of the season. Forecast for H-Town 92 and humid on Sunday. And, when I'm sitting down Sunday afternoon, cracking a beer to watch this game, I literally care about one thing, and that's that nobody gets hurt. Like, the whole time, I'm just praying nobody gets hurt. You can't have injuries at this time of year. We saw what happened with Michigan last year with Perkins going down week 10. It ruined their season. Cannot have any injuries. So we'll see. As of showtime here Thursday night, we don't know what the status of Jordan Ta'amu is. Is he starting? Are they going to rest him? I'm sure, Shannon Harris does seem like a bit of a player's coach, so I'm sure he's asking Jordan, hey, how do you feel about it? And I know he's going to want to play, right? That's just he wants that MVP award, and players aren't thinking I'm going to go get hurt. So you wonder, especially with the chatter that goes on at Arlington, when guys start figuring out over at DC's in DC's meeting rooms, hey, Bryce is out. That's being talked about. Those guys are let's go get Jordan the MVP. We have a chance now to make a difference. So I think, when you look at the numbers, it's pretty convincing. You can make a case for Ta'amu, and we'll see. I think Coach Harris still, through all that, has to be smart, really smart about what he's going to do here. I'm not going to sit here and ask him to start Mike Dilliello, but I definitely wouldn't complain if I saw Dilliello take the first series. It's kind of a similar situation to Arlington. If I knew for sure Luis Perez was the guy, I'd hammer the Renegades. That'd be almost a max bet spot. But I don't know, what the plan is in the third, the fourth quarter. So for DC, if it's business as usual, I'm all over the 3.5 if they're just playing it like they normally do. But you figure the books are baking in a little of this kind of skeptical situation with these quarterbacks, because the line should be 6.5, right? At least.
I think this line stinks. This line stinks, Matt. That's why I'm going to go the way I am. But I think the books just know that this could be a potential letdown spot for the defenders coming off back-to-back emotional wins. And I can definitely see them, maybe not taking Houston as seriously as they should. And if they don't, I think they'll get humbled real quick. I think Houston has a good chance to keep this thing close and maybe potentially win this game. So I do think this Houston offense will match up really well with this defender's defense, just because, this defender's defense is nothing special. Houston, high volume passing, and we've seen with Zaquandre White, he's been ripping off some big runs each week. So I really like what I've been seeing out of this Houston offense, but they just got to correct these second half woes that they have, right? They could correct what they do in the second half. If they could make the right adjustments, I really like them in this game. So I'm going to take Houston plus the points, and I'm also going to sprinkle the money line.
Going back to the well with the Knicks. Gross.
I don't think that's ever been a well for me.
You bet them. You bet them last year in the toilet bowl, I remember.
Yeah, that's probably the last time I have, just because, and then I haven't gone back because it's just a horrible taste in my mouth.
Could have sworn there was one spot, I forget who was against this year, where you were heavy on Houston. I believe it was against Memphis, which they actually did. I think they won. They won, but they didn't.
You're right.
They won and they covered for you there. So
no, they didn't, because they won by 1 and the spread was
they were favored.
Or yeah, it was Memphis coming off that. Yeah, when we had Dresser win, because it was Memphis coming off the Birmingham win, and I thought it was a letdown spot for Memphis. And yeah, so this might be the second time I've officially taken the Roughnecks on this show.
Yeah, I just don't see it. DC's the pick. Even if Dilliello plays, the majority of the game here, I'd still go DC. nothing against old Mike D there at Austin P, but I'd be excited to get him some work. I feel like he's, obviously it limits the offense, but he did save me against San Antonio. I was heading into some significant debt in that situation. He came in and kind of held that thing together for us for 4 plays so we can keep that drive going and eventually cover. But if you're Houston, I know you're eliminated, so do you roll with McClendon? Probably. Yeah, there's no reason not to, unless they think maybe Nolan Henderson deserves another shot. Kind of a tough season for Henderson because it wasn't really his fault. Like, he didn't get benched. He got hurt against Birmingham, and then the guy behind him just happened to come in and catch fire. That's a tough position to be in. I think Henderson, if he didn't get hurt, probably would have got the rest of the year. But it's a good thing he didn't, because then we got to see, a rising star with Jalen McClendon, throwing the ball 50 times last week for 300 yards. A couple of guys to watch here. I think Abram Smith is probably due for a pretty big workload if you want to keep Jackson healthy for the playoffs. A guy you can rely on to begin with. Maybe make him RB1 this week if you're going to stick with Tamu. And then for Houston, I'd like to see a little more Marcus Sims. Like, let's make this trade worth it. Let's get this guy some targets. I know they only throw the ball to Justin Hall, but that's got to be.
Oh, you're here? Okay. All right, I'm coming up. My buddy Tony Packer's here. We're watching game 2 of the T-Wolves Thunder. Hell yeah. Thunder money line T-Wolves money line tonight. Sorry.
NBA ratings are down. NHL ratings are down. I don't want to hear about UFL ratings. All right, we don't talk about ratings on this show. Get Marcus Sims some targets, just to finish my point. That's all I was saying. All right, week 9, best bets. We're coming off a 3-0 sweep from week 8. 3 words this week, folks. Proceed with caution. Too many variables in all these games for us to be out here betting our whole paychecks, so I'm going to tell you to stay away from totals this week. I know overs are scorching hot right now, and it's very tempting. 14-2 on the overs last 4 weeks, but how many backup quarterbacks are we going to see out here in the second half struggling against starting defenses because, there aren't backup defenses to play. You got to play your ones on that side of the ball, but I just don't want to take the overs here. Are unders in consideration? No, I don't think so, because you can make an argument. High totals, DC and Houston all the way up at 45.5, Michigan, Birmingham, 44.5. Maybe, one of those come in on the under, but we're in this middle of this trend where weird scoring plays keep happening. We're getting a ton of pick sixes. We're getting a ton of punt returns. We're getting a ton of these weird trick plays that are going for scores. Like, points are in abundance, so I wouldn't take the unders either. Just stay away from totals this week. They're too hard to nail down. There are a couple sides I like. We're going to go ponies plus the 1.5. Right now, I think that cross 0, and now Birmingham is the favorite in a pick 'em. Look at the money line. If you can get the money line for like less than minus 130, I'd be cool with that. And I know I said they might win this game by 10 or more, but you never know. With Michigan, they've been a really solid team. But I like where I'm at with plus 1.5 on Birmingham as a home dog. Going to go Renegades. We'll lay the 4.5 there for a half unit. Again, if we get some information after the show and, Perez is a full starter, maybe go a little bit more on that. But I don't really know if Stoops is going to say who's playing the full game. And then I like defenders minus 3.5. I'm going to presume that Jordan will play. And that Mike Dilliello maybe mixes in a little bit if they're up big in the second half, but I like that as well. All right, TPG, plug the socials, and we'll get out of here.
Are you sure you're not getting a little too big for your bridges? You have a sticky note sweep, and now how many plays do you have? 4, 5?
I took 3, but I warned the no people totals? While you were gone with Tony Packer there. Proceed with caution. We're gonna proceed with caution.
Okay.
No totals this week.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's definitely a tough week to be bet the totals. I've kind of laid off them recently too, just because. You mentioned like the overs have been hot, but not as heavy as I haven't been as heavy on them as I was earlier in the year. But all right, let's get out of here. Socials, Instagram, TikTok. TikTok's actually been popping off lately, so go check that out. Follow, like, comment, share, do all that good stuff. And yeah, looking forward to a great 2 weeks before we get these playoffs started.
And I know right now for UFL fans is the fatigue week, right? This is the week where you're like, man, I wish it was just June 8th. I wish that we had a big game to watch. Just kind of reset. And when you watch these games, think about the big picture from the player's perspective, right? Like, these guys aren't viewing this as big game, little game. They just want to play, right? They want to play. They don't know, a lot of these guys, when their last game is going to be. We've seen it time and time again where we thought a guy was coming back to the UFL and he never ended up playing it down again. I always go back to Reed Sinnett last year when he asked, remember he asked on the sideline, he's like, hey, can you put me in just so my last professional throw isn't an interception? And I don't think CJ ever put him back. So,
is that who the Brown was called?
No, it isn't. I can't confirm. But yeah, guys like that who's like, they might be playing for their last time, so they're certainly going all out. And you never know. We could see some great games regardless of the motivational spots, and everything comes down to this. All we have to do is keep everybody healthy. No key injuries this week. Coaches, be smart. Pull your guys out if you're up big. And I hope Jordan Ta'amu's able to get, enough done to maybe win an MVP. That'd be nice. But ultimately, in DC, we're focused on one thing, and that's a UFL championship. If we don't get the MVP, even if we lose to Houston, that's okay. We're just looking for that UFL championship. As the St. Louis scumbag TPG is for his Battlehawks. Win or lose against San Antonio, it's about one thing, and that's the title at the end.
No, I want to win. I want to win this week.
You're greedy.
I don't want to lose to San Antonio. I don't want to lose to San Antonio like you did.
Listen.
Fuck that noise.
Listen. Kellen Mond, he beat DC. Here he comes. Here he comes for St. Louis next.
He also got absolutely dominated by Houston, so.
That is right.
There's range. There's range with this guy.
In his homecoming game, too. That was like his
homecoming game. Did he go to Southside High School? Do you know?
He's actually, he's giving the commencement speech, and then they're flying him right to the dome. All right, everybody. We'll get out of here. Hope you enjoyed Travis Feeney. Don't let me forget about our bet. Again, if the Defenders, I should say when the Defenders win the UFL championship, actually even before that, we can just close this bet as soon as they beat St. Louis in the XFL Conference Championship. Then he's going to have to buy me some merch. You're going to have to buy me some gear, XFL champs. If sadly St. Louis would win, I got to deck myself out in Feeney merch and come on here and pretend I'm not depressed. So that's pretty high stakes bet. First time we've ever done it with a player. And also, we're not going to announce what it is yet, but TPG and I are going to have a pretty high stakes bet for that one as well.
Didn't you do that with AJ? Didn't you have to wear the shirt, the Battlehawks shirt last year?
Mike Ryan.
Oh, okay.
The bet was.
I thought that was when.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I forgot about that. The bet was I'd have to wear a Battlehawks shirt if St. Louis beat DC last year in Audi, and he would buy my Zoom Pro subscription for the rest of the year to do interviews if DC won. So. Unfortunately, I had to pay for Zoom to do interviews the rest of the season last year. But
and you still are.
Hey, good thing we're doing a little better on best bets. 13-10 on the season. We're keeping it above 500. We're paying for Zoom Pro, so that's a plus. All right, for TPG, I'm Matty Fresh. You always remember there's no such thing as football season. Enjoy Week 9, and we'll be back with you Sunday night.